Join us now in the news to discuss more on this is an education consultant and policy analyst. Professor Yomi Fawehinmi joins us right now. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Good evening, everyone, and good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's start off by talking about President Tinubu's tour to the Eastern Caribbean. It has been seen as a strategic move to strengthen ties with St Lucia and potentially other nations in the region. But can you discuss the potential economic, cultural, and let's even say the diplomatic outcomes of this visit? And also, of course, we cannot but talk about the honor bestowed on our dear president.
Well, I mean, thanks. That's quite a lot of questions. There's quite a lot of conversations in social media about the visit. For many people, they're wondering why St. Lucia. For some other people, they are asking questions, why now? I mean, so there are two key issues people have tried to raise. One is why St. Lucia, and then secondly, why now? And the government has come with various releases. I personally ask myself that same question: why now? And for my own questions around why now and why this long. I mean, the president will be out of the country for upwards of 10 days or so in St. Lucia, and then we'll go for a conference that Nigeria is not a member of the BRICS, or we'll be going for a conference earlier than the members. Two of the members of BRICS that are supposed to hold the conference in Brazil have said they are not going because they have more pressing issues. Nigeria is invited because of his status. Nigeria is not a member, but our president will be devoting excess of 10 days to St. Lucia and to Brazil for a conference that we are not members. Now, for me, I wonder why that long. I also wonder what is the uniqueness of St. Lucia. I personally got to know about St. Lucia a couple of years back, where I had to do a class with a principal of a college there. And it's a relatively small country, less than 250,000 people. Some people have said 200,000. Now, it's not impossible that the goal of the president is some soft power. We have seen how the technical aid corps, for example, has been a source of soft power in various parts of Africa. So maybe the goal is to have that soft power in the Caribbean, starting with St. Lucia. But let's also think about it. If we really want to, I personally feel that announcement was just a feel-good gesture announcement. For one, is that the St. Lucians asked for a scholarship scheme from Nigeria. No, we did not hear that from their speech. It was the president that made the request. So for me, I think it's an economic thing. 200,000 people. And remember, St. Lucia has, I think, 4 universities. Some records show 3, some records show 4. So they are not, they have enough. When you think about 200,000, you're talking about a population less than Ekpe or less than a part of Ikeja, and there are 34 universities. So universities is not their problem. So maybe the president just wonders, what can I announce that will make St. Lucians happy and respect me for that and applaud me for that. But I don't know which St. Lucian will be coming to Nigeria because of this scholarship. I also wonder the contradiction. The president announcing that, I was wondering, what is he really talking about? Because if you check our educational sector, in April this year, the federal government of Nigeria announced the cancellation of the bilateral scholarship programs that many Nigerians are benefited from. Just in April, May, they suspended it, then they announced it. They are ending all bilateral educational agreement that leads to scholarship. And then in June, the president talks about a scholarship in another country, and you're wondering, so why did you cancel the bilateral educational assistance as a scholarship, and then you want to start another scholarship for St. Lucia? It looks like that's a big contradiction from the point of view of foreign aid through scholarship. And like I've seen sometimes in the educational sector or in this recent past, there seems to be a lot of too many activities, in some little bit of lack of coordination and significant rigorous analysis that makes there. If the president wants to do a scholarship with St. Lucia, it's just ridiculous. You cancel the scholarship program a couple of months, but then you want to start with St. Lucia. I mean, what are you really doing? And maybe more contradictory is the fact that, so which university are they coming to? Just a couple of days back, or today or yesterday, the ASU gave a warning that they could go on strike. Is that where you're giving scholarship to? And universities are cash grab. And perhaps maybe the most annoying of the contradiction, if I'll talk about the three contradictions I see in the announcement, is that public primary schools in Federal Capital Territory have been on strike for over 3 months. That's where the president lives. That's where the minister for education lives. That's where the minister of health lives. That's where the chief justice of Nigeria lives. That's where the Senate president, the House of Reps speaker live. They have been on strike for almost a month over money. You didn't solve the problem in Abuja. You're going to announce scholarship for St. Lucia's resident. It looks pretty ridiculous. And what's all of this about?
What would, so tell me now, of course, the Nigerian government has announced a scholarship program for students in that region to study in Nigerian universities with effect from next academic year. What do you think can be done to even accommodate that? Because now the president has said it. I want to believe that the country, St. Lucia, would want to hold our president to his word. So what can we do between now and next year, if at all it's possible, to at least fix up our education? Maybe this might just give us a more reason to focus on education in Nigeria.
Great question. But the question is, who is that St. Lucia that wants to come to Nigeria? You saw yesterday or 2 days back a Nigerian student who is studying medicine in St. Lucia. Nigerian students, at least I know about 2 parents who have sent their children to St. Lucia to study medicine, because when you go to study medicine in St. Lucia, you can easily practice in America. And so if you practice in some countries, you can, so if you study to become a doctor in some countries, you can easily get employed in the US. But if you go to St. Lucia and some countries in the Caribbean, you actually, I know parents who send their children from Canada, from USA to go to St. Lucia and those Caribbean countries because it's cheaper. So Americans send their people to St. Lucia. Canadians send their children to St. Lucia to go study medicine so that they can target the American market. So my question is that, so is there a St. Lucian that will now come to Nigeria to come to study medicine when Americans are coming to St. Lucia to study medicine? So the question is, it's not a question of just announcing the scholarship. The question is, at St. Lucia, did they request for it? Now, I understand if they were trying to do something that is around culture, because we have, for example, very rich cultural exchange program between Nigeria universities and French organizations. So there is a French Research Institute, for example, University of Ibadan, called IFRA, wherein they bring exchange program who come to learn Yoruba culture, dance, in the University of Ibadan. Now, if that is the kind of thing they want to do, yes, it makes sense, because we're best to learn Yoruba than here. But the question you ask yourself is that, who is a St. Lucia who is coming to Nigeria to learn to be a doctor, to be an engineer, or to become a lawyer? Who has applied? We have data in Nigeria that shows countries that people write JAM, people write JAM examination. Do we have people applying from St. Lucia? So maybe the president is selling a product that has no buyer. Maybe it's flying a cat that nobody is concerned about. But hey, it will be on record. He made the announcement. But if the St. Lucians don't want to come, they won't come. So nobody will leave St. Lucia to come to Nigeria because of the fact that there is a scholarship. You're going to think about the safety of the country. You're going to think about the challenges you have living up. You're going to think about the quality of education. You're going to think about that. Unfortunately, all the universities in St. Lucia, none of them is ranked in the Times Higher Institution ranking. So we can't compare it to a University of Ibadan or OAU or ABU or UNICA. So we don't have the basis based on the THE ranking. But I don't see why anybody would leave the Caribbean to come and say, when Canadians go there to study, when Americans go there to study. So if people are going to there to study some of their courses, then those ones will not come here. That means they are competitive. Right now, but I agree, if it's things around culture and that, what will even shock some people is that it will actually be better for you to go and study some cultural issue about Nigeria outside Nigeria. One of our most respected authors was doing a research on something about the Igbo culture, and he said he found that she saw that there were more books in a university in UK than in Nigeria about the Igbo culture. So the question is that who is demanding the product the president is selling? Or like we ask Nigeria, who sent you job?
Okay, so let's move away from education now. And you mentioned culture. There's also perhaps maybe trade or even security. Do you think there's something Nigeria and St. Lucia can gain from this newfound friendship?
I mean, we can adduce reasons why what we can gain from this visit, but I did not think the president went there because we want to gain. And personally, my opinion is that the president knows why he went to St. Lucia. He knows. I also think that the rigor with which the presidency is releasing information on why the president is going there proves to me that they know the reason is not the reason. You know, people say there are two reasons why people do something. The reason why the reason they tell you and the real reason. I do not think the president went there because of all those things. I mean, I saw a press release where they were saying, "Oh, we have the historic ties. Most of the old people, most of the people in St. Lucia came from Nigeria, and then we had the Chief Justice who's from St. Lucia. So what has that got to do with going to visit St. Lucia in 2025? Some people have even argued that it's the headquarters of an organization Nigeria wants to have influence. So what has that got to do there? But it makes sense. It makes sense if the president has an objective that we don't know. It doesn't make sense when the president and his team try to now wrap it as if it's something about Nigeria. Today is Tuesday. The president has been on this trip for a couple of days. I don't know anybody that is aware of any agreement that has been signed. Now, I'm not saying agreement may not be signed by tomorrow, but I've not seen any agreement signed. I've not seen any commitment from any business person. What I have seen rather is the president addressing the parliament. I've also the president getting awards and president giving recognition to Nigerian students who study medicine. I've not seen agreement. I've not seen the St. Lucia biggest factory say they're coming to. I've not seen any announcement of any investor from St. Lucia coming to say they are coming to start a factory in Nigeria. I have not even seen any significant announcement on the part of St. Lucia. I've seen Nigeria making a lot of announcements. Oh, there's scholarship, there is this, there is that. But I've not seen, oh, Nigeria is one, so we give them we'll give their diplomats and some visa-free stuff. I've not seen so much announcement on the part of St. Lucia. So to me, it looks like a one-sided visit. And you ask yourself, what is Nigeria looking for? And that it is only St. Lucia that can provide it. I mean, but you could also argue when the Prime Minister of Germany comes to Nigeria in terms of the economy, we're smaller than Germany. When the US president comes there, you're smaller. Well, you know, because of the fact that we have something, you don't need to convince a German president where she comes to Nigeria. It's a huge market. There are many Nigerian businesses. There are many German businesses in Nigeria. You don't need to convince the American president to come to Nigeria. But what is the St. Lucia president looking to get from a visit from a Nigerian president? And what does a Nigerian president looking for? I don't see it.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Fawehinmi, for being our guest and for having this conversation with us. And we hope you join us some other time.